Yeah, for the first time since the new year, protesters in Lebanon back on the streets, resuming the blocking of major highways in what they've billed as a week of wrath, demanding an end to a months-long political vacuum.
A brief lull over Christmas, but protests have resumed in Lebanon, aimed at the continued vacuum in leadership. People are unhappy with the authorities' inactivity in forming a new government. Protests were staged across the country. In the capital, Beirut, people burned tires and blocked highways. Students also participated, brandishing Lebanese flags and chanting rally songs.
The aim of the protest today is to revive the revolution and to show the rulers that it's here to stay. Students came today. They'll run the country when the current rulers end up in the bin of history.
One of the main triggers for this renewed wave of protests is Lebanon's economic situation. The country is facing its worst crisis in decades, with the local currency plummeting against the dollar, losing over 60% of its value over the past weeks. Lebanon's former Interior Minister Ziad Baroud told France 24 the nation was paying for 30 years of poor policies.
Since 30 years, many policies, so to speak, on economy failed in or tried to postpone the problem. At no time we had policies that would ensure that we're heading in the good direction. Now we're paying the price of, yes, maybe 30 or 40 years of I wouldn't say bad policies, I would say of wrong policies in a country that is suffering from too many other things.
As the country braces for more protests, citizens are facing continued loss of jobs, with salaries dropping in many sectors.
For more, let's cross to correspondent Layla Molana-Allen. Layla, tell us where you are.
Right now, I am at an intersection of the Ring Road, which is the main arterial highway across Beirut. This is a road that has played host to many of the biggest protests here over the last 3 months in Lebanon, and it's been blocked all day here. This is the intersection that leads straight to downtown, and since early morning, protesters have been blocking it here. They've been filling dumpsters with everything they can find and setting fire to them. You can see these huge fires behind me all day, black, acrid smoke rising up into the air, filling everyone's lungs, many people coughing. People have been wearing medical masks. You can see like this, protesters going around with boxes of them, handing them out to people because it is so hard to breathe here. They're also burning tires, so that plastic smoke as well, and really finding whatever they can to block the roads. It's not just here in this part of Beirut, but across the city, several different major roads blocked, and across the country too. This morning in Tripoli, we saw security forces using rubber bullets to disperse protesters from quite early on in the day. Also in various parts of the south too, we're seeing protests. And protesters, many more coming out throughout the evening. Hundreds also marched to the house of Hassan Diab, the new prime minister, very angry that it's been almost a month since he was nominated, and very little movement at all to nominating a new cabinet, a government that might be able to solve some of the many problems Lebanon is facing right now.
Yeah, talk us through first the lull that we saw over the Christmas period, and now why it's all coming again up to the fore.
So, to be clear, the protests didn't end. Many people saying, today it's being reported that the protests have suddenly started again. They haven't. It did carry on through the whole of the winter break, that Christmas and New Year period, but at a smaller level, small protest encampments. But protesters very determined to say that they have been continuously protesting for 90 days. Today is the 90th day. But really the reason why it's all started up again, today we've seen larger numbers, but also far more anger. And that's for a few reasons. As I mentioned there, nearly a month now since Hassan Diab was nominated as the new Prime Minister of Lebanon on the 17th of December. And they'd waited nearly 2 months for that to happen after the former Prime Minister resigned on the 29th of October, and there was a caretaker government for nearly 2 months. So that already was a long wait. He promised that within 4 weeks he would assemble a new government. It's nearly 4 weeks and we're seeing no movement on that. So people coming out today to say, we expect you to do something. We need some sort of emergency cabinet to solve the crisis here. And that crisis isn't just political. The crisis is economic. People are really suffering. There's a huge problem with the slippage of the Lebanese lira against the dollar, because the dollar is used as a currency for many, many things here. The IMF estimated that currency was overvalued by 50% in the middle of 2019. In the last few months alone, already we have seen up to 40% inflation as a result of that slippage. People cannot afford to buy basic daily commodities anymore. They can't feed their families at all. They can't pay their rent. People are losing their jobs. Many businesses are shutting down. So really, right now, even though people are still very angry about the corruption here, the government, what they're worried about most is their day-to-day lives, their inability to survive economically. And they're saying the government at the moment is suffering from infighting. It's all sectarian infighting rather than actually finding some people who are able to come forward and solve this economic crisis first and foremost.
All right, and just very briefly, what kind of a cabinet do these protesters want to see?
What protesters want to see is a cabinet of technocrats. They want people who are specialised, particularly, as I say, in the economic field, but actually able to come up with proposals that don't favour any party or any group, but really just are focusing on solving the economic problems here. Now, that's incredibly difficult. While various politicians have said, oh, yes, absolutely, we're in favour of a technocratic cabinet, and the previous Prime Minister, Saad Hariri, did say he was trying to do that. The reality is that the way that the sectarian government system is divided up here, where every single party has to have their say in Parliament, the problem is that all of them have their own interests, so they're not interested in having people come forward who don't have alliances with any party, and they are blocking the possibility of that. The other issue is that because the sectarian system has been going on for so long, and one of the problems here is nepotistic politics, everyone is related to an old politician, anybody serving now, they all have to have wasta, which is some sort of nepotism or favour. It's very difficult to find people actually who are both qualified, willing to serve in the government, and able to, without having been linked to the system in some way. Very difficult to find any sort of independent candidates at all.
Molana-Allen reporting live from Beirut. Many thanks for that update.